My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have a new watch from Citizen. Now, I'm surprised this watch didn't get more attention. It's very similar to the titanium diver they released that was inspired by the Citizen Challenge diver, but this one's stainless steel and at a much more affordable price point. Now, this diver seems to have some of the features that were absent from the Seiko 5KX, the new Seiko 5 divers that came out a few years ago, such as 200 meters of water resistance and a screw-down crown. Now, before we get to the review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. If you're enjoying the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. For price and availability, this watch comes in a number of colorways and is available from a variety of retailers for right around $200. Now, the case is 41 millimeters in diameter, it's 50 millimeters lug to lug, it's 14 millimeters thick, and then has a 20 millimeter lug width opening. On the stock strap, it weighs in at 101 grams. Now, the case is quite simple, lacking any transitional beveling along the top of the mid case, and then the finish is completely brushed. While the lug to lug is quite long at 50 millimeters, there's a slight turn down to the lugs, which helps slightly with the wear. The stock rubber strap flares out to around 23 millimeters and then tapers all the way down to 18 at the tail. The strap is wavy where it meets the watch, and then perforated along the rest of the length. The pin and buckle hardware is unsigned. This isn't the greatest strap, it's a little bit tough, but it is functional. Luckily, the lug width is 20 millimeters, so you won't have any trouble finding an aftermarket strap option if you don't like this one. The screw and case back is brushed to match the finishing of the rest of the case, and then has information around the edge. The case back is quite thick, which adds to the overall thickness of the watch. This watch is powered by the Miyota 8204. This is a hacking, hand-winding, 21,600 vibration per hour movement with a 42-hour power reserve and a stated accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds a day. It also features a quick set day and date. Now, I'm really glad they went with the hacking and hand-winding Miyota in this particular watch. And then you can see it's running in spec between about 15 to 16 seconds per day in the dial-up position, and then between +13 to 15 seconds a day with the crown up. The 6.5 millimeter screw-down crown is knurled and beautifully signed. The threading and unthreading action is smooth. With the lack of crown guards and ample size, it's easy to wind and operate the watch via this crown. Now, if Citizen can sign this crown so nicely at this price point, there's really no excuse you don't see it done in more expensive watches. I'm looking at you, Seiko. The mineral crystal is set way below the bezel, and there's a facet around the edge that catches light and causes distortion. Despite only being a mineral crystal, the fact that it's so deep set will make it much harder to scratch, and I think overall was a cool design choice. The 60-click unidirectional bezel is tall and has great knurling. Despite the knurling being high polish, which makes it a bit slippery, it's still easy to operate the bezel. The action feels great, and the alignment is close to perfect. I think it's a hair off to the left, but it's not easily noticeable. The aluminum insert is graduated all the way around with 10-minute increments in Arabic numerals. Now, I actually prefer 60-click bezels over 120s, and this one is just a pleasure to use. This dial is incredibly deep set, which is definitely adding a little bit to the thickness of the watch. There's a brushed rehaut around the edge with dashes around the edge of the dial for the minutes, and then smaller dashes breaking the minutes down further. The dial is actually textured and is bright yellow in the middle, slowly fading to black around the edges. The effect looks fantastic in person. We have Citizen at 12, a framed day-date window at 3, and then automatic divers 200 meters at 6 o'clock. They did have to put a Lume plot at 3 for the new ISO standard. Now, it might just be that I'm used to them now, but this one doesn't really bother me. The large indices are applied, edged in high polish, and filled with lume. A large triangle is used at 12 to help with orientation. The dial layout is nicely balanced and very legible. The Mercedes-style hour hand and arrow-tipped minute hand are high polish and filled with lume. The hour hand is also partially skeletonized, which looks great. The high polish second hand has a counterbalance and a small loomed lollipop toward the tip. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this handset. The minute hand is quite short, as is the second hand, and I also don't really like the very small arrow on the tip of the minute hand. The lume on this one is actually not bad. It isn't Seiko level, doesn't have the same brightness or duration, but it's quite usable. So here it is on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. You can see that 50 millimeter lug to lug does basically extend all the way across the top of my wrist. And then from the side, you can see that 14 millimeter thickness. Now, divers tend to be on the thicker side. I don't think this is a major problem, but just keep in mind this one is a bit tall. For pros and cons, starting with the pros, well, you have to hand it to Citizen. They gave us what many of us wanted from the new Seiko 5 divers, an affordable ISO rated 200 meter diver with a screw down crown and hacking and hand winding movement. Second, I love the action and ease of use with this 60 click bezel. Finally, this dial is fantastic. The yellow might not be for everyone, but it comes in a variety of other colors if this one is not to your taste. As for cons, first, you know that short minute hands are a pet peeve of mine, and this one is definitely on the shorter side. And then I don't really love that arrow at the end. I don't know, there's just something off about it for me. Second, while not overly thick for a diver, the dial is really deep set, and I feel like they could have maybe shaved half to a full millimeter off the total thickness by not having it so deep set. Last, I'm not a fan of the stock rubber strap, but with a 20 millimeter lug width, this is easily remedied. As for comparables, you could definitely consider an Orient diver. For a bit more, you could get a Komatsu, which is going to offer sapphire crystal. For around the same price, and if you don't mind the lower water resistance rating and a push-pull crown, the newer Seiko 5 divers are an obvious choice. And then for less, I would recommend something like the Casio Duro diver. This is powered by a quartz movement, but honestly, that makes it a better choice in many ways. So there you have it, the new Citizen Promaster diver. What do you think of this new line of affordable dive watches? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you've been watching Just Watches.